Hey, what's up? This is Ben from Jukebox The Ghost, and I'm hanging out with Rob from Front Row Live.
Ben, what's up, dude? I'm so excited about this album. Cheers. I've literally been listening to it all weekend and I'm like super stoked about it.
Oh man, thank you so much. That's awesome.
It's definitely my favorite album that you guys have released so far. And I just love the energy. I love the stylistic melodies that you have throughout this record. I love the piano. That piano player is awesome. But
I know that guy. I can probably introduce you if you.
Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. I'd love to talk to him. But yeah, you guys definitely stepped it up with this album, and I'm like so excited about it. Talk to me about that creative process and how did you guys come about this time around and make things so much better than your previous material?
It's very nice of you to say all that. It's crazy. We did this record in a way that we haven't done any before. So I think like so many artists, made us sort of reevaluate and do things a little differently. But the one thing that we had already planned was we, for the first time, built our own studio and engineered and recorded the whole thing ourselves. Usually in the past, we've found a producer, people to collaborate with, and that's wonderful. But we're like, this is studio album number 6. I think we've learned enough to make our own music and see what happens. So I've got a little studio behind my apartment here in Brooklyn, and we did the whole thing there over a series of many months. And what that let us do was take some risks and try to get back to taking some of the elements from our old records that we loved and new records that we loved and trying to put it all together. So it was a completely different process because we didn't go to someone else's studio. We would just sort of show up and head to our little space and chip away at it and get to spend time to really tear songs apart if they're not working and rework them and I don't know, build something cool. So I think we did. I'm happy about it.
I feel like that's awesome that you guys are able to do it yourselves, just because you're more comfortable and you're able to be yourselves. If you want to goof off during the recording process, you can, you can do what you feel most comfortable doing. But at the same time, I feel like it's also a challenge because the producer is that person that makes you step out of your comfort zone because you're listening to the tracks over and over, you're singing the tracks over and over. So how are you guys able to kind of do that and make each other step out of that comfort zone during this process?
That's such a good question because that's why you have a producer, someone to bounce ideas off or have that, the tie break if when you get into that interband, we're all stuck in a loop and can't get past something. It's interesting. I think, there's three people in our band. So most of the time there ends up being a 2-on-1 majority if something is tricky. And so I think we leaned on that and our many years of being in this band together to not get into massive blowout fights and just be all right, 2 of us think this is a good idea. It's probably a good idea. And I'll just sort of eat it a little bit. And then I don't know, we were just learning together. And if something wasn't working, what we had the luxury to do is step away from it. If you're in the studio with a producer and you're paying for by the day or whatever, you've got to make a decision on the spot. And so it gave us some space to sort of be all right, this isn't working. Let's step away. Let's see what perspective we get. And I think, a lot of bands, I think when they're starting out, if they're producing their own music, you get into that trap. And I felt it for the first time where you could work on a song forever because it's never perfect and no song is ever done. That was maybe one of the harder parts to get to the point where we felt comfortable saying, song's done, we're good, because you can always find something else to work at.
As far as the piano player, because that dude was incredible. How did you go about it this time around? Because your piano playing it's so theatrical. I fell in love every single time. That piano had either its own I feel like you focused on the piano a lot more when you did on those certain songs. And so what did you do differently this time around with your keys? And how do you keep it fresh every time?
It's right. That was definitely a conscious effort. Our early records are very piano heavy. It's the songs lean on them. A lot of that was budgetary. When we first made our first record, we had I don't know, 6 days in the studio. So we couldn't take risks with synths or rebuild or whatever. So I really wanted to like bring that back. And you know, I've always thought that the piano is sort of one of our big strengths, because there's not a lot of bands that, you know, have a pianist that can play. For anyone who's not picking up on the sarcasm, I am the piano player in this band. So I'm allowed to talk about this guy. But you know, I'm a classically trained pianist. I did jazz in college. I write a bunch. I'm playing all over the place, and we really wanted that to be able to shine. And so we carved out moments on the record and really tried to make sure that the piano arrangement meant something in different parts. And as far as like keeping it fresh, I don't know. I improvise a lot, and I'll play through classical music, or I'll, you know, learn a new jazz standard or something. I'm always trying to learn something and find a new way to play, because I never want two songs to sound, you know, too similar, or you know, you get a trick and maybe you can get away with using it twice, but beyond that, then you're just a broken record. So I don't know, just trying to play some crazy shit and make it work. That's what I'm trying to do.
Throughout this album, you guys had so many stylistic features within every track. One that sticks out the most, and probably one of my favorite stylistic things that you guys did, was on Brass Band. The brass band, like, that was incredible.
Yeah.
What, you don't realize how much of an impact something like that, something so small, has, right? So like, what was the idea of like that section in particular, and you know, what was that process like?
It's funny, that song, like, that's a high risk, high reward moment, right? That's because you just got this build up, and the lyrics are kind of moody, and it's about like, you know, getting out of your head and feeling bored. You can feel excited, and I don't know, when I was playing that piano riff, I just got there and I stopped and I was like, brass band, and I was like, is that dumb or is that awesome? And I spent so long trying to figure out if it was dumb or awesome, and it inevitably figured out, or decided for me, that's awesome. I like it. It's a little tongue in cheek. Like, I know it's silly, but hopefully it still feels good. And then produce the whole song around like just that concept, and putting a lot of brass in there, and then having a completely over the top bridge with like string lines and almost like mariachi trumpets. And I don't know, really just trying to lean into being ridiculous in our music, because I think that's sort of a strong suit, and sometimes being ridiculous in the lyrics too, and having a lyrical hook that's just, it's called brass band. Let's say brass band. Feels good. Let's go.
Yeah, I lost my shit when I heard that part. I was like that was amazing. like that little moment was just incredible. And then you have the trombone afterwards. I was like,
Yeah.
this is perfect. You guys went full circle with the song Wasted. You guys opened up for Jack's Mannequin way back when, and now you have Andrew McMahon, you know, collaborating with you guys on a track. What was that process like? And, you know, I'm sure now it's like, throughout the years that you guys have toured together, I'm sure you guys are like buddies, but like, how different was it going into the studio and actually creating songs and music together?
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, we toured together some years ago, and he's awesome. He was a friend, and you know, you tour with somebody and it's like going to summer camp. You become instant friends, but you'd also, like summer camp, don't know if you're ever going to see the person again or hang out again, you know? And Andrew was just one of those people that our paths kept crossing, and we kept seeing each other. And so we stayed in touch over the years. And I was in LA not long before it, writing a bunch of songs with some people, and he and I were like, do you want to write a song together? And we're like, sure. So met up for an afternoon and wrote this tune together. And then we were making the record, you know, the band's working on it. We're like rewriting some lyrics and stuff. And I couldn't get out of my head the way he sang the pre-chorus and the second verse. So I hit him up and I was like, dude, you sound so good on this. I know this is like a jukebox tune, but would you want to sing on it as well? And he was like, of course. So he did the track and we did the music video together. And he's just one of those dudes he's so easy, so lovely, and just down to make music and write music and collaborate. And so it's just nice to make music with people that you like and admire. It's a good feeling.
Now, there's a lot of moments in this album where upon first listen of the record, like I'm telling you, I listened to it over the weekend. I listened to it at least like 6 times. But upon listening to it the first time, there were so many tracks on here that made me instantly just kind of either hum along or sing along, as if I've been listening to it forever. Like, and that's one of the beautiful things about the process of creating an album. not a lot of artists are able to do that nowadays. I feel like now it's either a singles game or just like an EP game, but it's never like a full body of work, like an album. And you guys do this with this record. What was that process like lyrically, writing all these songs? Did you have it in mind to be something so catchy, or is this like a natural flow for you guys in the studio?
I think it's both. And we, we're a band we put out a lot of albums, and we were putting out albums when the album was the most important thing in the world. And, the music industry and the way music is consumed now, it is like single, 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 single. And, even the conversation is like, we're going to put out this record, we're going to keep releasing singles after. And it's like, it never stops. But that said, like, we love, the art form of an album, and we still value it. And we want it to feel like you can listen to it top to bottom, and it feels like an experience, and it feels like one aesthetic, concept and thing. Our other both challenge, but, strength is we have two songwriters in the band. So Tommy, the guitarist, he has like a lot of the big epic numbers that are like very lyrically heavy and apocalyptic and super intense. And so we've always tried to balance these like super wordy, narrative based tunes with songs that are like catchy and a little like, take fewer risks lyrically necessarily, but always catchy. Always, you need to be able to hum along to it or sing along to it or dance to it. That's just always been a priority. And I think both because we like that kind of music, and we know that our fans like that kind of music. And so you've got to straddle that line between like, do we like it? Are the people that support us going to like it? Does it feel good for everybody? And that's sort of how we land. But album tunes should still be catchy, should still be able to sing along to everything.
I feel like you showcased your voice a little bit more, or your vocals a little bit more during Us Against the World, just because of the melodic singing that you were doing. More voice, more vocals, less instrumentation.
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful song that like it was. I know you already have interludes throughout, like in the album, but that was also like a nice little segue from like the fast pace, like fun, energetic stuff, and then something like more mellow, like Us Against the World. Literally started, you had me like Us Against the World, and I was like, damn, I am I part of the band? Like,
wait, well, you are now with that singing voice. Yeah, you're in.
But yeah, talk to me about recording that song in particular. And like, I feel like it's a different aspect of vulnerability. It's a more of a vocal vulnerability, not so much lyrically. But what was that process like for you?
Yeah, that song like just has a lot of space to it. And I think it's very easy for us because everyone in the band has tons of ideas and we're pretty good instrumentalists and we like recording shit that will add too much to it. And that tune just like, every time we added more is like, no, keep it simple, give it some space, let the vocals shine, let that like the duet round between me and Tommy just sort of like float through. And I don't know, it's good to remember like you're allowed to create space on an album. You're allowed to just give a song its moment, and it doesn't have to be like the biggest song in the world or the smallest song in the world as far as energy. It's just nice to like be in a space, and that song always felt like it was exactly what it needed to be, just like that.
And you close out the record with such an incredible, like Queen-esque kind of sound with Cheers.
Yeah.
Was that a challenge for you? Or is that just normally how you sing?
Both. That song is super high. And it's one of those tunes like when I think I had just been off tour when we were writing it and all those notes were there. And then if I don't sing for like a month or two, I like kind of lose like maybe a half step of range. And that song is tough. That is up there. It's funny. It's not the super high notes that are tough. It's like it's really the chorus. Is it just an ass kicker? But that's good. It's good to be challenged. And that's one of those tunes that, the audience in a live setting, they're going to do half the work. Everyone's going to sing along. It's going to feel huge. It's going to feel big. And we wanted the album to end on a sort of triumphant cheers, thanks, good on you sort of a note.
You guys had like about 3 years to write this record and record it. Was that having that amount of time, was that easy or was that challenging?
Both. What did for us was give us space to from the road. We pretty much toured nonstop since we started releasing music, and this was the first time we had a significant time off. And for me, it was really a gift because I got to sit back and take some space and not be traveling and think like, okay, what kind of music do we want to make? What kind of album do we want to make? Let's give ourselves the time to do this and take some risks. And you know, we didn't just record one album worth of material. We have a second album like in the wings, ready to go. So that's what it gave us the chance. It's
Slow
like
down.
all
Let's
there.
sing you the lyrics to Ramona.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, again, it'll take some time, but like, yeah. You know, we love making music and love writing music, and it was cool to have that time to, you know, having our own studio. We can take a risk on a song like Us Against the World, which might not have made it on another record because we felt like we had to do more singles or more of the pop tunes or whatever. But we've got the time, we got the space right now, so it feels really good.
I'm glad you guys took these risks. Like, this album is complete. Like it's perfect. I don't
Thank
think
you very much.
I don't think any one song doesn't belong, but I also don't think you need to add more music to it. And I love the interlude. I love that you have the 2 intros as well. Like something that, again, we don't get that in albums anymore. Now it's just like song, 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 song. There's no segue. There's no like real, I don't know, back in the day, like there would be samples of like either a movie quote or, you know,
Yeah.
and like you kind of reminded me of that during like
Cool.
this process. It seems like this record was asking to come out. It seems like the lyrics were asking to come out, instrumentation, same way. What would you say was the biggest challenge in order to create this album?
What was, I mean, you know, the biggest challenge really probably was, it ended up being the gift and the asset, but learning how to record it ourselves, learning how to, you know, I've never been in a position where I'm both like at the computer, editing the drums, making decisions, comping things, doing the processing, and then stepping back and having to be like creative and sing a part and play a piano part and weigh in. So, you know, it's a challenge to be completely in control, but it's also artistically freeing in a lot of ways. So, you know, learning how we work without a producer was probably the biggest challenge. And then because of that, I think it ended up making our, you know, our best record to date. So it's one of those like just overcoming that, but it was always, that was always going to be the plan. So it felt good. You know, and also just like, you know, with all these albums that were made or written during, like, that had its own bizarre set of challenges. Everyone had their own experience. And so, you know, working through that and pushing through that weird like loneliness and finding ways to make a record out of that made it what it is.
Well, congratulations with Cheers, man. I'm super excited that you guys, this album is out now. And Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Next time you guys are in town in LA, we have to get together again because I want to talk more with the rest of the guys as well. But congratulations with this record, and thank you again for taking the time.
Dude, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the kind words too.